Welcome to the Go Shout Love podcast. My name is Josh Veach, and I am one of the directors of Go Shout Love, along with my wife, Rochelle. At Go Shout Love, we're committed to doing amazing things for families with kids on rare medical journeys. Each month, we share the story of a family, or in some cases, multiple families, with a child on a rare medical journey. We tell their story all month long, and we celebrate what makes these kids awesome. And then we give everyday, ordinary people just like me and you the opportunity to show up big and support them financially through the purchase of creative apparel inspired by the kiddos. A lot of our episodes are introducing you to that month's featured families at a deeper level. And so if you listen to our last two episodes, you will meet two amazing kids from Lincoln, Nebraska that we are featuring in November. But in this episode, I get to introduce you to one of our team members who is also one of my very best friends, Seth Carnell. I've known Seth as long as I can remember, and we've been able to have a lot of great memories together. He is a committed husband, dad, and he's incredibly passionate about using his gifts in a way that benefits others. And one of the ways in which he does that is through the storytelling he does for us here at Go Shout Love. Seth is the one behind the camera. He's the one editing all of our videos, as well as handling the production of many of our podcast episodes. I'm incredibly thankful for the work that he does, his passion for our families, and of course, his friendship. I hope you enjoy getting to know him a bit. Here's my chat with Seth. Seth, welcome to the Go Shout Love podcast.
Hi, Josh.
It's good to have you, and I hope it's okay for you to feel on a different side of the microphone in some ways.
I'm glad it's simply not in front of a camera. I like being behind the scenes as much as possible.
Yeah. So you are, people know you because you are often a voice on the podcast. You do a lot of our intros and kind of a host, one of our hosts. You do a lot of recordings with families.
Yeah.
But you're also, we tout you as our storyteller for Go Shout Love. And so a lot of that means the podcast, but also in video. You do a lot of our video work, all of our video work. And so we're going to get to all of that. But before we get into your role and what you do for Go Shout Love, like we do for most guests, we'd really just like to meet Seth, the person. So tell us about Seth, the person.
Well, so you want to start with family, maybe?
Sure.
Seth the person, I like baseball.
Let's start by going way back.
Let's go way back.
Seth the person, I don't remember a history in my life where I don't know Seth the person. You and I grew up together. Your dad... We did. Your dad was, for many years, I guess, for a while. Your dad was the pastor of the church in our hometown, my hometown, and so you and I were pretty inseparable for several years until your parents, without our consultation, made a decision to move and take a different church.
We've never really addressed that with them. The grudge is still there. Forgiveness is essential, and I've tried to fully forgive, but it's not wholly complete.
There's serious scarring that happens.
There's
in
scarring there
lives.
for sure.
Yeah. So anyway, we've been close for a long time, and so I know a lot about you, and but our listeners do not. So tell us. Let's start with family.
Okay. I have. I've been married for 12 years to McKenna. Awesome, beautiful woman. In case she's listening to this. We have 3 boys. There's Charles, who's about to turn 9 next week. That's an eye opener. We have Bryce, who we adopted a couple years ago, and Spencer, who we're in the process of adopting right now. We live in Overland Park, Kansas. Never thought I would actually live in Kansas City. But I fell in love with this city. It's a fantastic place to live, to raise a family. The humidity is awful, but you know what? Not every place is perfect. The barbecue well makes up for it.
Absolutely. Okay, so 3 kids.
3 kids.
And you mentioned that One was that Bryce was adopted, and that Spencer is in process. So that has come through the foster system.
Correct.
And that's that's a story that you and I kind of share. Rochelle and I have kind of gone down that path as well. But for you and McKenna, what did that journey look like? What got you into the process of fostering and then ultimately adopting?
So we had Charles in 2010, and when he was about 3, we said, okay, let's try for another. And then for 3 or 4 years, it just wasn't happening. No explanation. We did some fertility treatments. It was a couple-year journey before we started contemplating adoption. And we were going to go down the private adoption route, but we had a couple of friends who had just entered into the foster system, and they had taken placement of a couple of girls, young girls who needed adopted. And what we thought was a joke at the time, it wasn't a joke. The foster mom, her name's Melissa, she came up to us and said, well, do you want to adopt them? And her personality, she's serious pretty much about whatever she says. And Ken and I both, we came home, we said, well, yeah, that sounds great. Let's do it. So we took the foster classes, which is a 10-week course. So entertaining. That's not true. It was a really good course, though. We had a really good class. But it's 10 weeks long, and about halfway through the class, the girls were adopted by somebody else, somebody who was already licensed and could take placement. In fact, it might have been family. I don't remember that. You know how that works.
Right.
Kinship is a preferred placement, especially in the state of Kansas.
Sure.
So it would have been a long road anyway. But after they were adopted, we just said, well, let's keep going. Let's finish out our license and just see where this journey takes us.
Yeah. And what year was that?
That was 2016. Yeah, Charlie was about 6 at the time, 5 or 6, when we finished our license. And then we got our first placement that May, who was not an adoptable kid, actually. So that kind of changed our trajectory. I mean, we still wanted to adopt. We still wanted to grow our family, but we developed a passion for also helping some of these kiddos and some of the parents who really want to turn things around.
Yeah. And I think that's one of the hardest parts about the foster system for some people that go into it. Some people that go into it with the mindset of the goal being adoption.
Yeah.
Because that's a natural conflict of what the actual stated goal of foster care is.
For sure.
Because from the foster care side of things, adoption is the last resort. The ultimate goal is reunification. And so there's this vulnerability that comes in becoming a foster parent that is you're recognizing that you're putting yourself in a position where you may come to grow to love a child or children that are in your care, knowing that at the end of the day, what may be best for them, or at least what the court decides is best for them, is to not be in your care, is for them to go back with family, or to go back to, or go to, an extended family member through kinship or something like that.
And there's a wide range of emotions and experiences that coincide with that. Watching our first placement go back to his mom was one of the highlights of our foster journey. And we still get to have a relationship with him and with her, and it's been fantastic. We've also seen kids go back home in a situation that we don't feel comfortable about. And those are heartbreaking moments.
Right.
Kids that you've invested in for months, and if you've seen them through some medical issues and some other stuff, and you've been taking care of them, only to go back to a situation that that's tough to watch. It stinks. It really does. Yep.
It's a really emotional season. For Rochelle and I, we were licensed. We went on the open list for birth to 10. And
that's right. You did older.
Yeah,
older than we were licensed for.
If we had it to do over again, we probably would have started much younger, simply because we just weren't equipped. We weren't ready for that. And so we went from being married for, just the two of us for, gosh, I guess probably 10 years, or 8 years, something like that. And then getting the placement of a 10-year-old in July, who was a foster placement, not an adoptive placement. And then
Right.
Lyle was placed with us, who was an adoptive placement, in October. So we went in a 3-month period. We doubled our family size, and we're trying to navigate all that. And it really stretched us, and it grew us.
Yeah.
And we really learned. I mean, it was a hard season, but we learned a lot about ourselves. We learned a lot about our faith. You have to get real with your selfishness. Like, part of that's just natural when you become a parent in general. But when you are taking on some struggles and challenges and situations, with the kiddo that comes into your home, you are inviting in all of their experiences as well. Mm-hmm. Like their whole past, good, bad, and ugly. It's coming into your front door, and it's sitting at your dinner table.
You develop this. I guess maturity is the best way I could say it. That you may not have experienced for about a couple more decades. Being as young as we are forced into some very real situations, mm-hmm. some very uncomfortable situations that we never would have been in had it not been for the foster system.
Right.
And that breeds growth in you as a person and as a couple.
Yeah. How would you say that you and Kenna have grown because of that decision to get into fostering and adopting?
Some of that, you notice when we interview a lot of these Go Shout Love families. Now, not that fostering is the same as having a child on the rare medical journey, but what the parallel is, you can see that as a couple, they've had to rely on each other a lot more. They've had to see each other in moments of heartbreak, moments where instead of talking out, you simply just sit in silence and weep together. Those moments really reinforce and really develop a foundation in a person and in their marriage, because you've seen hard life. Again, not the same thing.
Sure. But maybe some of the relational elements are similar.
I feel that's the case. There's some very real relational elements there. There's a motherly instinct inside of Kenna that never got fulfilled by having more kids of her own. And even on top of that, she's a NICU nurse at a hospital who works nights. And so she sees a variety of very difficult situations of kids being born into tough situations and then bringing on kiddos and foster care. She's had to develop a maturity beyond her years, and I've gotten to walk alongside of her with that. I don't know if that's making any sense.
Yeah, absolutely.
But I feel like we can have more in-depth conversations sometimes with people who are older than us, because they've seen some hard life too. It's a unique balance.
Well, and it's what I experienced in I'll never forget my first family support team meeting that I went to as a foster dad. And at that time we were brand new, and I was wrestling with all of these, man, what's going on with this little guy? Like, why this or why that? I'm trying to process.
Yeah.
And then I witness firsthand from his mom, like, certain things, and I'm like, it opened up my eyes. It's like it's a side of society that I knew was there, but I had never been fully connected to or fully witnessed. And I realized it's no wonder this little guy's struggling with this and this and this. This is all that's been modeled for him. Mm-hmm. And so he has literally been in survival mode his whole life. And it really broke my heart, but it also gave me fresh perspective to better care for him in that season. But yeah, it's a hard thing. In
a very bittersweet way, it opens up your mind and perspective. to a lot of real world situations that prior to fostering or whatever, you wouldn't have been in front of.
Right. And it's an empathy builder for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. So moving away from that side of things, tell us a little bit about how you got connected to Go Shout Love.
That's your fault.
That's my fault.
No, honestly, I'm very thankful for that. I was doing I've always wanted to do more video work, freelance video work. I was working for a church as their production director, and you came calling with the potential project for doing Go Shout Love. You had been connected with Kristen and doing some, I believe, marketing work with her.
Right. Yep.
And then I guess it just fell into you guys wanted to do some video work to highlight these kiddos, and you came to me.
Yeah. And
I think the first one we did was Ivy in San Diego.
Yep.
It was a great experience.
It really was. Yeah. And I think it was an encouraging experience because I think, I don't want to put words in your mouth, but I think one of the things that we both appreciate is doing work where people are at the center, telling stories and helping craft messages that are more than selling widgets, more than just selling stuff, and getting to see Ivy and then many of the kids since then, I think has just... I think probably for you too, but has really, I think, solidified that direction of doing work where people are at the center.
You know, when you do video and commercial work, you always go into this mindset of wanting to be on large production sets and film crews and stuff like that. And although that's to a degree true, what doing Go Shout Love at the beginning especially developed a purpose for my set of skills, which is storytelling for people, real stories, real people that have a positive impact. And people whose stories deserve to be told. A lot of them go overlooked because, you know, either nobody has approached them to reach out, or there's just not a means for it.
Right.
But that's what Go Shout Love I kind of started in me, was that purpose of telling those kind of stories.
Yeah. Well, how did you get started in video work? What was the path that led you down that?
It's kind of started in high school. Now, I've always been fascinated with how things are made when it comes to video, like behind the scenes in movies, or one of my favorite is how they do those world documentaries. Have you seen like Planet Earth or whatever? I just love watching how things are made. And then in high school, I got onto, you know, because I'm so cool and jock-like, the AV crew to broadcast basketball games and stuff like that. And from there, I just want to do more of this. So I went to college and studied media, all forms of it: television, radio, newspaper, journalism. And then from there, kind of developed a small clientele, as every videographer does. I went and did a lot of weddings just to learn camera work and to make some money. But, you know, then it started turning into being able to tell impactful stories. I like being behind a camera. I obsess over light. That stuff is fun, just to see how different light affects different objects inside of a camera, messing with lenses. There's an amazing array of affordable, awesome cameras out there. That's what I geek out about. So I don't know if that answers those questions, but that's kind of where I'm at.
Yeah, the video, it's amazing how much technology has changed what's possible with video and by possible I mean affordable.
Yeah.
In the last decade, especially with DSLRs and even like drone footage is so much more obtainable.
What's crazy
amazing
is
the outcome that you can get.
Even 10 years ago, you and I wouldn't be able to shoot the kind of video for these families that we could now.
No way.
Even with phones still developing their cameras. But the capabilities now are fantastic. Such great image quality. And you can tell some great stories in the process.
Right, absolutely. So you spent time in production,
Correct,
for a church and for several years. How long were you at the church?
7 years.
7 years, and that just came to an end. What, a month ago? A few weeks
beginning
ago?
of October. Yeah.
Yeah. So how has that adjustment into full-time self-employment looked for you?
It's quite an adjustment because right now I'm sitting at home, whereas I would be at an office doing something. However, those 7 years developed me into a videographer because I did a lot of video work for them, and I was able to make a lot of connections and work on different projects for a bunch of different people. So that 7 years I see as not only as a sustainable job, but as a stepping stone to becoming the video storyteller that I think that I am and that I could be.
Right.
So what I've done over the past month is taken some of those connections and start to develop those. I would like to work on some bigger projects just so that I can grow and develop. One of the struggles I'm working nonprofit or charitable or for a church is there's no crew, and for creatives, although there's a level of competition, what also exists is collaboration. And you can only be so creative, or you can only grow so much without that collaboration. And that's what I need right now, is to work alongside some other people so that the work that I do for the companies, these do-good organizations, I want that work to improve. So I have my clients. I have about 4 or 5 regular clients, and then some other projects that I'm pursuing, and I'm keeping busy. It's been great.
That's awesome. That's awesome. I'm really excited for you and proud of you because I know that's been something that's been on your should I or should I not type of list, and so it's a hard thing. We've talked about that before, but I'm proud of you for doing it. And
ditto, my man. It was not an easy jump for you to go full time on your own, and
there's a certain level of freedom that comes that's hard to replace. So.
Right. There's freedom and terror.
That's right. It's like the seasons. We both live in the Midwest, and just this last week, last Sunday, it was like 60 degrees. We were all outside with, short sleeves or whatever, being able just to play outside. And then 36 hours later, there's ice on the ground and there's no school the next day. And I feel like that the weather in the Midwest is like, if you could compare that to like the emotional swings of being self-employed, it's kind of the same. Like in the same day, you can feel like, oh, this is awesome. I'm killing it. I love life. And then, later that day you get an email or something that goes wrong, and it's like, what have I done to my family? I'm the worst, I'm the worst. I suck at everything. We're not going to make it. And so I think part of that journey is just figuring out how to stay away from the extremes and kind of.
You just described my Monday morning. It was 35 degrees and frost on the car, and I was feeling really bad about freelance videography. And now, it's like 60 outside, and I'm feeling okay.
And the soul's feeling a little sunny too. Yeah.
Right.
Oh man, yeah, it's a journey, but it's a good one, and it's one worth taking when you believe in the work that you're doing, and I know that you do.
Correct.
So with Go Shout Love, what's been your favorite experience so far?
That is a very difficult question to answer. I'll answer it in 2 different ways. One of them would be, as a whole, I've enjoyed doing the podcasts. I've enjoyed giving a platform to these families who have not been asked to give a platform a lot of times. Just to simply tell us what life is like in a very honest and open way. That's been very enlightening, eye-opening. Some of the hardest stories and some of the most joyful stories. And then as far as like hard examples, there's 2 in particular. Where you see an influence of community on these kiddos when you meet them. One of them was Micah in Southern California, where when we showed up, he had a crew of friends, the friends that nominated him, but they were all wearing Go Shout Love t-shirts from different kiddos, nowhere near them. You know, they were wearing Sophia's and Emery's and Ellie's. And it was fantastic just to watch that. It was one of the best. And we only spent like 2.5 hours with them, I think, total. But it was like spending 2.5 hours with family. It was great.
That's cool.
They were very welcoming. And excited for us to be there. And the second was not too long ago with Sutton, to watch these kids unveil this swing for her. There was a level of inclusion, which I think I've really tried to stress lately, because these kids want to feel included in stuff. And that was a blessing to witness. So there you go. Two.
Yeah.
It's hard to pick those out because there's been a lot of good experiences.
Yeah, the local school had raised funds for
a
wheelchair swing, and so Sutton got to experience an everyday recess like other kids get to.
And these little kids were so excited to share it for her. To them, Sutton was just any other kid.
Right.
And that's what I would want to see more of.
Yeah.
Not just kids to kids, but adults to adults. Inclusion is big.
Right. What about difficult experiences? Have you had any of those? Any moments that it's taken time to process?
Our first time highlighting more than one family at a time. We were, again, in Southern California. And although there was a lot of joyful moments, like I said, there are some very difficult things to process when you're not used to it. So I think we met 3 or 4 families in one day. And not only does it just become an exhausting day, but there's some really tough topics that you cover.
Right. It's beyond physical exhaustion. There's a certain level of emotional and mental capacity that gets reached too. There's
emotional, mental, physical, spiritual, and then all you want to do is give these people the world. You want to, you're like, well, let's surround them with love, and you want it to happen in that moment.
Right.
And you feel very worn out.
Yeah.
In a good way. So, I mean, it's hard to pick out a tough moment, but I guess we ended one day on meeting James and his parents. And it was one of the best conversations we've ever had. But, you hear about his prognosis, and you hear about how they found out. They went from having one of the most joyful, expecting to have one of the most joyful days in their life.
No indication. No indication
come crashing down. And then to have all of their community not know how to surround them. They spoke of some loneliness, and it's just tough to hear.
Yeah. Yep. What about T-shirts? What's been your favorite T-shirt or other product that you've had from Go Shout Love?
Actually, I wear my hoodie a lot now.
Yeah, they are super soft.
They are so soft. I feel like I'm betraying some people when I pick up my favorite shirt, but
clarifying that we are picking out the design, your favorite design, not
correct.
Not a family. You're not giving any favoritism to family, so there's no guilt involved in this choice.
Yeah, I have my list of favorite families over here. I'm just kidding. My favorite design, and I believe a lot in intentionality, was probably Pittsburgh. First of all, the yellow or the gold and black, spoke to all of their sports teams there pretty much.
Right.
And then the bridge design was just really well done. I really liked that shirt.
Yeah, it came together really well.
Everything about that shirt encompassed Pittsburgh.
Yeah, cool. Very cool.
You designed that one, right?
I concepted that one. Yeah, came up with it. Yep. And then kind of sketched it and said, "Hey, designer at Cracker Jack Shack, which is our printer, can you make this look better than what I have? And they did it. So yeah. As we wrap up here, one of the things that I love about you, Seth, is not just the friendship that we've had over the years, and the
which
work,
is awesome,
and the work, yes, and being able to travel sometimes together has been good. Beyond the work that you do, is that you really are passionate about these families. You're passionate about the cause, and you really believe in it. And so if there was somebody that's listening to this episode, and maybe they've made a purchase in a previous month because of being connected to a family, or maybe they've just never made a purchase yet, what would you tell them if they're on the verge of making a purchase to support a family, or especially on the verge of thinking about becoming a monthly shout or a monthly subscriber that helps a family every month? What would you tell them? What would you tell them about the buying experience and what it means to get a t-shirt every month that's inspired by a family?
Yeah. Oh man, that's a tough question to answer articulately, because you know how you feel inside about it,
Mm-hmm.
but to be able to briefly explain, how much you want something for these families is tough. First, I would say, thanks for making, that first purchase. It's probably for a friend or a family member or something, and that's fantastic. I get a shirt every month, and I'm connected with these kids because I've gotten to meet a lot of them. I still think I would do it even had I not gotten to meet these, because I believe now in a world where we have to be intentional with what we do. And a very easy and tangible way to be intentional is to change what you wear to be beneficial to somebody who needs it.
Mm-hmm.
So if you feel passionate about kids on rare medical journeys, not even necessarily the ones that you might be connected with, knowing that you're contributing every month, and also wearing something that could spark a conversation or could spark growth to benefit that family or another family, is that value is immeasurable.
Yeah.
You can do good with anything now, simply by wearing a t-shirt or, a mug. And I know I say that every time that we open or close a podcast, but it's true. I go out in public and I wear my Go Shout Love shirt, and the next day I wear another one. I was when it was my last day or last 2 days at the church that I was working at. And one of the guys kind of joked, and he's like, let's guess how many Go Shout Love shirts that Seth has, because that's all I wear now.
Yeah.
And they all guessed, and they were all wrong.
They were all too low?
They were all too low. I was like, no, I have 15 or 16. I think I'm now almost at 20, which is very difficult to wear 20 shirts in the matter of a 7-day span, because I try to get them all in. That's not true. But I know that every time I put one on, there's a chance that somebody might ask me about it. And that means that, like this month, if I wear my Lincoln one, that I can tell somebody about Sutton. And even though I've purchased the shirt, I'm shouting love for her by telling her story.
Right.
And that's a big deal.
Yeah. Or you can even tell the part of the story that how it's also benefiting Riker, and how these two moms didn't know each other before this month.
Yeah.
And now
the
they've
community
been able
that's
to connect.
come out of it is just insane. There's moms who meet each other from halfway across, well, not the world, I guess, all the way across the country.
Right.
They're talking to each other now because of Go Shout Love. And there's a community, a real community that's forming. And I just want more people to be a part of it, because it's a very real, tangible thing.
Yeah. Yeah, you're right. I think for me, when I put a shirt on, it's a reminder that even though, we had a month devoted to telling the story of this family or these, 3 or 4 families, and then just the reality of what we do, the next month we shift that focus onto a new family. We still, provide key updates and share things from those past families. But what I'm reminded of when I put those shirts on, especially from previous months that aren't, currently part of our day-to-day social media channels, is that the realities that they face, even though we're not working with them every day now, their realities are still their realities. Like
For
their
sure.
challenges are still there. And so for me, it's just this reminder of, yes, we're moving on and telling this next family, but last month's family and the month before that, like their story still matters. The challenges they face still matter. And, it's a reminder to me to be open to seeing the world around me. And, where are the Riker and Suttons that I'm going to witness today here in Springfield, or where, you might witness in Overland Park. So yeah, it's definitely
I think we've said before, I don't remember which mom said it, but she mentioned how seeing somebody wearing the shirt of their month was like a virtual hug.
Right. That's
every
grace.
time
Yeah.
she saw it.
Yeah.
And I keep on picturing being out and about someday and seeing somebody that I don't know wearing a Go Shout Love shirt.
Yeah.
I can't wait for that moment.
Yeah.
Because it's like we both are giving this hug to somebody that needs it.
Yep. Well, man, hey, I'm incredibly thankful for you and for the work that you do for Go Shout Love. And I'm excited to see where the next days take us. And hopefully we get to keep shouting love and telling more stories of families on rare medical journeys together.
I was thinking soon we need to start selling Go Shout Love dressers, in case, or cabinets or whatever, in case. Do you have too many T-shirts, or is your closet too full? Well, here's this
closet
now.
Organizers, branded closet
Here's your
organizers.
Go Shout Love closet organizer, complete with a cup holder for your Go Shout Love coffee
There
mug.
you go. Yeah, that's a good idea. Maybe we'll work that in the next year.
Good, because I have other products we should talk about offline.
The patented back scratcher, Go Shout Love back scratcher.
Oh, okay, I'll mark that one off.
I hope you enjoyed getting to meet Seth. He's an amazing asset to our team, and we are incredibly lucky to have him. We are about halfway through a month of shouting love for Riker and Sutton from Lincoln, Nebraska. Both of these kiddos are incredible as they face extremely tough, rare medical journeys without a treatment or a cure. In meeting these families and hearing their stories, our team knew that the focus of our November t-shirts needed to be a call for all of us to recognize the power of each moment, to really embrace the idea of taking nothing for granted. And so the Moments Matter t-shirt for November is just that, a reminder of how precious life is and a call to make the most of every moment. So head over to our website now at goshout.love to make a purchase. Anything you buy through the shop will support Riker and Sutton. So whether that's a t-shirt or a hat or a mug, any item that you purchase will help them. You could also start a monthly t-shirt subscription where you can support new families just like Riker and Sutton every month. And as a special offer for new subscribers, you can save $5 off your first order using the discount code PODCAST at checkout. Again, save $5 on your first subscription order using the discount code PODCAST at checkout. Thanks again for listening and for joining us on this journey of shouting love. We're incredibly grateful for your support and everything that you do to help these families feel the love and support that they deserve. We'll talk to you soon.